If your budget feels like a punishment, then you're probably doing it wrong, and I want to help you fix that. Today, I'm sharing some common budgeting mistakes that you or someone you know might be currently making and how you can go about fixing that so it works for you in your real life and not just on a spreadsheet. My name is Liz, and welcome back to BusyDayDreaming, the podcast where we talk about money mindset and building wealth without any burnout or losing any joy in the process. I feel like a really big common mistake most people make is just having a really strict budget. They start budgeting and they go like from 0 to 100. So you go from like never using a budget to then creating your budget, right? But then restricting out everything. So there's like no eating out, no going to the movies, like no buying anything extra. Like it's just so strict, like no coffee in the morning. If you're someone who always drank coffee every day, you would stop and get your coffee from the coffee shop, and then all of a sudden it's no. So it's just kind of setting yourself up for failure when you make it too strict, especially when you're just starting out with budgeting. The best way that I would suggest to fix this or go about fixing this is to just give yourself a little leeway. Give yourself some fun money within your budget. Give yourself some just money for whatever within your budget, especially when you first start. Maybe you want to make it a little bit more than what you would attend to, and you can work your way down. So maybe you start with, depending on your budget. So like 10% of your budget could be just for whatever, or you can start with 20%. You can start honestly with whatever you feel comfortable with once you create that budget, but give yourself that money. And then as time goes on, if you find yourself sticking to your budget and you're not using that money at all, then you can kind of either like segue that money into more savings, more investments, or put it towards something else that you want. But it's really a good way to just start out without like putting so much pressure on yourself. Like, okay, like I'll give myself $200 this week, which, okay, like I don't want to buy coffee. So maybe like you won't buy coffee every day, but you might buy coffee 3 days a week, and you won't feel as bad for yourself because you've allotted an extra money for that or whatever old habits that you might have that are still lingering. It's really hard to quit everything cold turkey at once. So I just suggest that you don't make your budget too strict to begin with if you've never budgeted before, because if you make it too strict, you're literally just going to quit and just never budget. So give yourself a little grace, give yourself some extra money that is just set aside just for you to do whatever with. Your budget should feel like a guide and definitely not a punishment. Another common mistake I see people make is just simply not tracking their spending. If you create a budget, but then you don't follow through and track the spending, it's kind of worthless and useless. The only way the budget's going to work is if you actually then go ahead and track your actual spending in real life and then match it against that budget to make sure that you've either stayed on budget, you haven't stayed on budget, and then that way you are able to make adjustments. An easy fix, I would say, for this is to just get an app that kind of does this for you. There used to be the Mint app, and I know there's several other apps on the App Store. I can show you a few right here on the screen. But basically, these kind of apps will directly connect to your bank statement or your bank app or your credit card app, and they will pull the transactions directly from your card for you, and then they will be able to categorize it for you. And then that way they can track your spending. They can let you know that, you spent this much on eating out, this much on groceries, this much on utilities, this much on car maintenance, or whatever other topics that you might outline. And then as you use that kind of system more, it will learn you better and your transactions better, and it'll be able to like automatically categorize those without you even thinking about it. So if you don't want to like get a spreadsheet, start tracking things on your own, that's probably the best bet I would say, is to get an app that does it for you. But for a fact, if you're going to create a budget, you definitely need to track it one way or another. Either if you're going to do it manually by yourself with a spreadsheet, or you're going to have an app that just kind of connects to your bank and then pulls all those transactions, and then it can track it for you. And then that way you can use the results from that app and track it against the budget that you actually made and see your progress. And then that way you can see if you're doing well, you're not doing so well, how you can adjust that budget and make it work for you in your life. And I'll just add in a little bonus tip for you. You want to actually then continuously look at that budget either once a week or once a month, at the very least once a month. I wouldn't wait till like a quarter. Some people would say a quarter, but I would say at least once a month. Make it once a week is ideal. Just look at the actual app that's tracking your expenses, or your spreadsheet that's tracking your expenses, and then match that against your budget. What did you expect to do? So the more often you do that, the more you can actually adjust and make sure that you're staying on track with your budget. And then it also just gives yourself feedback. It's a feedback loop, okay? You want to see what happens in real life, what you plan to happen, and then you adjust until they get closer and closer to both being reality. If any of this helped you, or if there was anything that you learned from this, then please make sure you hit the like button and subscribe down below. Let me know if you're doing any of these, or if there's any other mistakes that you kind of find yourself keep falling into. If you have any other questions, let me know down in the comments. I love chatting with you guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. And as always, I will see you in the next video. Bye.